Okay, as I mentioned, when you're solving an absolute value equation, you have to think of two possibilities. There are two possibilities that could be true. This stuff under the absolute value might equal this, or it might equal the opposite of that, because absolute value is the same for those two possibilities. If the absolute value of 5 is equal to the absolute value of -5. So opposites have the same absolute value. So you have to consider both situations. You have to say, okay, well, x squared minus 3x could equal -4x plus 6, or x squared minus 3x might equal the opposite of that, which would be positive 4x minus 6. So you have to solve both equations for x. So here we've got a quadratic. If we add 4x on both sides, we'll end up with x squared plus x, and then subtract 6 minus 6 equals 0, which can factor. And you would get plus 3 minus 2. So x is equal to -3, or x equals 2. So those are two possibilities if the number equals the number on the right side of the equation. If the number in the absolute value equals the value on the right side of the equation but the opposite of it, then let's solve for x there. So we've got x squared. We can subtract 4x on both sides and get minus 7x. Add 6 on both sides, and here's what we have. This also factors. So we've got minus 6 minus 1 will give us our -7. So therefore, x would equal 6, or x could equal 1. So let's go back to the original equation, make sure all these things work, make sure we didn't make any mistakes. All right, if you check -3 in the original equation, you're going to have the absolute value of -3 squared, which is 9, minus 3 times -3, which is going to be plus 9. So the absolute value of 9 plus 9 equals -4 times -3, which is 12, plus 6. So that's absolute value of 18 equals 18. That's true. If you try 2 back in the original equation, you're going to have 2 squared is 4 minus 6. So you've got the absolute value of 4 minus 6 is supposed to equal, you put in 2 for x, that's -8 plus 6, which is going to be -2. So the absolute value of -2 equals -2. No, it does not. So x equals 2 doesn't work. And you would know that right away, because when you put in 2 for x, you get -8 plus 6, which is -2. An absolute value is never equal to negative number. All right, down here, try these in the original equation, see what you get. For x equals 6, you would have the absolute value of 6 squared, which would be 36, minus 3 times 6, which is 18, is equal to -4 times 6 plus 6. So this would be 36 minus 18 is 18. Absolute value of 18 is 18. And that's supposed to equal -24 plus 6. Well, I can already tell that's negative, so no. Try 1. When you put 1 into the original equation, you've got 1 squared, which is 1, minus 3 times 1, which is 3, equals -4 times 1, which is -4, plus 6. So this is the absolute value of -2 equals 2, and that is true. So x equals 1 works, x equals 6 did not work, and x equals -3 works. So you've got, no, wait a minute, did x equals 2 work? 4 minus 6 is -2. No, it was the -3 that worked, right? So the answers for that problem would be -3 and 1. So anytime you're dealing with an absolute value problem, you isolate the absolute value, and then to figure out what x is, you're going to have to try both situations. Either the absolute thing in the absolute value equals the number on the right side, or it equals the opposite of it. Both choices, both things are possible.